Oftentimes, there will be right-wing groups that go after the left, and in the process of trying to shit on them, they make them look super based. This is a common thing that I see often. And this is one of the reasons why the left should lean into left-wing ideas. Like, for example, raising the minimum wage, having more unions, Medicare for all, whatever, fill in the blank. Most of the ideas of the left are popular. There are some that aren't, but most of them are. And so if you lean into these things, what you do is you bait your opponent to attack you on your strengths, where you're going to win that debate 10 out of 10 times. So I love this. So RNC research, these absolute goofballs, went after Raphael Warnock, who's, of course, in the runoff election right now for U.S. Senate. He's the incumbent. He's against Herschel Walker in Georgia. Early voting has already started, by the way. So this is all the way back in 2009. Listen to the point that he makes. Now, remember, this is like the best they could pull up on him. And I'm sure they've been going through all of the old sermons he delivered and trying desperately to find stuff to attack him over. Listen to this. I love this.
I'm so sick and tired of all of these folk talking about socialistic medicine. You're giving in to socialism.
Okay, so specifically, he's going after people who attack socialistic medicine. In other words, universal health care. This is in 2009, so this is probably at the beginning of the Obamacare debate, when really some people were saying we should do total universal health care, Medicare for all. And he's going, why would you be against healthcare for everybody? Okay, let's continue.
I really get upset when I hear Christians in the midst of this debate talking about socialism. They ought to go back and read Acts chapter 2, where the Bible says that the church had all things in common. We don't have all things in common, but certainly we have some things in common, and there are some things that you can't build a gate around. Folk talking.
So in other words, we all have a liver, we all have kidneys, our bodies are functionally, biologically the same, so we have this in common. Why would we not have everybody covered with the same health care? Joe in Cleveland and Barbara in Wyoming should have the same health care as some rich asshole in Congress. That's the point he's making. That's the point he's making.
As if they know what they're talking about. Using words and labels instead of engaging in analysis. You don't solve the problem simply by calling something socialism. There are some things that we have in common. I'm so sick and...
That's it. That's it. And that last point is like, to just slap a label on something and use that to dismiss it and swat it aside, that's intellectually lazy and dishonest and disingenuous. That's what that is. Like, it's socialism, so just, swat it aside. Wait, so you're not going to engage on the merits of the issue? You don't want to talk about the different kinds of socialized healthcare systems? So, for example, when you talk about the UK system, it is public funding, so tax money, funding public institutions, so government hospitals, government clinics, etc. That's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is the French model, which is public funding, so tax money, of private institutions. So like, clinics or hospitals can be private, so they have leeway to make certain decisions on their own, but it's not government run, but it's still public money, so it's government funded. That's another way of doing it. There's a multi-payer system. There's public option style systems where you can buy into a government system, and that competes with private systems. So what he's saying is, like, hey, don't just say socialism bad and then disengage from the conversation. Because, hey, and the right talks about this all the time. Don't you want to engage in a free and open exchange of ideas and a debate, and may the best idea rise to the top and win? And what they're doing is fundamentally the opposite of that when they say, just call it socialism and swat it to the side. This is the point that he's making. So the clip that they dug up to try to go after him is this guy saying, everybody should have universal health care, and it's really dishonest when people just call it socialism and swat it to the side. That's the most base point I've ever heard any American politician make ever. Ever. This was before he was a politician, but this is making me like him even more. How did they think this was a win, man? Because again, he's right about them. They think in buzzwords. Socialism bad. I don't like socialism. Bad. It's bad. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. These people have no response to, for example, the Commonwealth Fund studies, which show every single time they rank the world's healthcare systems, they do 11 developed countries. You know what we're ranked? 11th out of 11. Every time. Every time we're the worst in every single measurable way. They don't have a reaction to that. They don't have an intelligent policy response to that. All they have is free market capitalism good, socialism bad. Okay, but what about the instances where that's just not true? What about that? What about where we can empirically prove that it's not true? Do you just have no response to that? And the answer is yes, they don't have a response. They don't even know about those studies. And if you point it out to them, they'd still swat it aside because isn't that socialism? Raphael Warnock is 100% correct, completely based. And if you think this is going to win you the election, look at our asshole opponent. He wants everybody to have health care. Bitch. How do you think that's going to work? How do you think that's going to work? It's not going to work. It's going to make people run into his arms. Because really, their solution is the lack of a solution. Their solution is like status quo. Status quo. That's why remember that guy Alan Grayson, Democratic congressman? He got in a bunch of shit because he said, the Republican healthcare plan is don't get sick. And if you do get sick, die quickly because we don't want you to cost us a lot of money. And he got a bunch of shit for it, but what else is their plan? You tell me. You tell me. They got nothing. They got nothing. So, thank you for attacking him on his strengths. I haven't read the replies here, but let's take a look. A lot of Americans and some Canadians don't understand what socialism actually means. Jesus Christ was a socialist because he brought people together for a common purpose. Yeah, by the way, that's also true. You're going to go after a pastor, a Christian pastor, saying, hey, don't be so quick to criticize socialism, and not acknowledge the fact that Jesus was a socialist before socialism existed. Jesus was vehemently anti-rich. He wanted them to give away all of their property. That's what he wanted. He was a pacifist. He said, turn the other cheek. He didn't even believe in violence for self-defense reasons. Just overlook all that. If you hate socialist-like policies, you likely don't understand what socialism is. Don't like it? Stop using welfare, public roads, police and fire services, public schools, social security, Medicare, public utilities. They are subsidized by socialist policies, etc. Me too. So if you really hate socialism as it is practiced in America, don't accept Social Security benefits or Medicare or the redistribution of taxes from blue states to red states. His criticism is clearly that Republicans are labeling things socialism as an excuse to not argue against it. Correct! Correct. If I could just label you the bad thing, then I don't have to engage further. That's what that is. Again, so disingenuous and dishonest. Socialism works. You can't prove me wrong. Thanks socialism for our libraries, fire departments, police departments. All these people who decry socialism will not hesitate to accept Social Security, Medicare. Everybody's basically saying the same thing. Everybody's saying the exact same thing. Are there any parts here any comments here that agree with the criticism? Rich people socialism. So under Trump's tax cuts, the Walton family of Walmart got $53 billion. The Koch brothers, $34 billion. Trump's children, $4 billion. 99.8% of Americans, not one nickel. To be fair, 83% of the benefits went to the top 1%, but that's in the long run. So what they did is, they did give regular people a tax cut up front, but then that has a sunset provision, so it goes away, but the tax cuts on the rich are permanent. So that's the kind of socialism they believe in. They believe in bailing out Wall Street to the tune of trillions of dollars. That's what they believe in. They believe in funding the military-industrial complex as far as the eye can see. But they don't believe in socialism for regular folks. It's amazing. I haven't seen a single comment that's in favor of the RNC here. Damn, this Reverend Warnock guy sounds cool as hell. He should run for office or something. All right, anyway, there you go, guys. So, based Raphael Warnock saying more and more based things. Again, I'll make this point again because it's the most important point as it pertains to this race. Warnock and Ossoff had every excuse in the world to go full Joe Manchin and full Kyrsten Sinema. They could have said, hey man, I'm from Georgia. Georgia is traditionally a red state. I need to represent the people of my state. And what that means is I might be a little more right-wing than my base wants me to be. They could have said that. They didn't do that. Why? Because they did the right thing. And they're more honest about where they are on the political spectrum. And they're super serving their base and doing better for the people. And so they are some of the least bad politicians, let's say. They pleasantly surprised me with the fact that they just didn't sprint to the right, because every single Democrat from these more red states, they usually do that, and then they get wiped out in the next election, by the way. So we'll see what happens. It's still possible he loses the race, but he's a real one. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.